they're not one of the good guys. You know, they're extremely they forced Howard Stern off the air, and they're high on censorship.
You know, I have questions about Howard Stern myself because, you know, I hear him, he's promoting Net2 or the new grid, telling people it's to keep us safe, and then, you know, he came out and he was supporting Ron Paul a little bit. So, you know, I grew up listening to Howard Stern, but I'm starting to have a lot of questions about that. And off the top of the head, I remember that he does transcendental, the meditation? I remember a lot of that, and I think behind the scenes he's very kind of new agey. So I'm wondering who might have funded and, you know, co-opted Howard Stern.
Well, you brought up Adam Kokesh with and concerns with Ron Paul. I looked into Adam Kokesh just a little bit, and I saw that he was with, when he was in the military, he was with the 3rd Civilian Affairs Group, which does psychological operations. They do psyops. Wow.
Yeah,
I know a lot of intelligence. They're involved in intelligence, and a lot of them go on to go into like the CIA or stay in the military and pretend to be civilians.
Him and a bunch of guys, G. Edward Griffin, which people should look into because I'm hearing not so good things about him recently. All met over at Jekyll Island last week or 2 weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, well, G. Edward Griffin, he'll never take it home to Rome. He'll never go there. When the Vatican Knight of Malta connection is so obvious to the Federal Reserve, I cover a lot of it in my book. And in fact, a book called The Secrets of the Temple, if you read that one, it's a big thick one, and it tells you that the Federal Reserve is patterned after the Catholic Church. and if you watch the first Godfather movie, when all the Godfathers decide to meet in that building and they want to call off the war, you know, you had Marlon Brando there and the others. It shows you in the movie the building, first of all, that they're going to be meeting in. It's this huge, beautiful brick building. It's the Federal Reserve Bank in New York City.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot in Godfather movies. Godfather 3 especially, with
Godfather
the death of
3,
Roberto
yeah.
Calvi and the whole scandal there.
And it starts out
John Paul I being poisoned from the cup of Borgia. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of boards, yeah. And then it starts out with giving them the cross of the Order of Saint Sylvester, but it's a Maltese cross. So it's showing everybody that the top dons are connected to the Knights of Malta.
What was the organization called? What was the organization called in Godfather 3? The Global Luminari or something?
Oh no, Illuminati.
Yeah,
something like, that's a real thing.
it is.
Is it
That's
really?
real. Yeah, yeah. If you go to the Wikipedia page and look up Godfather 3 and they talk about it, there's a link and it'll take you to the real thing.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's the real name of what it was.
I think it's Luminary. We're not sure, but yeah, I'll definitely look into that. I was not aware of that. I just thought they were alluding to the Illuminati and trying to.
That's what I thought too, and I actually looked it up just recently, actually, and yeah, it's true.
That's a Vatican.
But also, I wanted to bring to your awareness. Also, you were talking about the Department of Homeland Security and all of its Knights of Malta connections. Did you know that Janet Napolitano graduated valedictorian from Jesuit Santa Clara?
Santa Clara, that's right. Just like Leon Panetta. Yeah, Leon Panetta, he's a confirmed Knight of Malta, so now they keep the Knights head in the CIA and at the feet of the Jesuits of Santa Clara. Amen. That's right. Very good.
I know who Eric is. Eric is a very knowledgeable dude, man.
Well, thank you.
Well, great.
What do you know about, have you talked anything about Robert Hansen, the Opus Dei member, FBI spy?
Oh, yes. Robert Philip Hansen was very important.
Did you know that he had the same Opus Dei spiritual advisor, went to the same Opus Dei church as Antonin Scalia and his boss, FBI director at the time, Louis Freeh.
Louis Freeh. I didn't know the Scalia connection.
The FBI agent that wound up busting Robert Hansen, this was the only case he did. It's Eric something. I'll have to look it up again. But he graduated from Jesuit University.
I see. Yeah,
so the way I take it, it was kind of a controlled burn.
Absolutely. It was a controlled burn because he was getting out of hand. Because he was doing
this. The spiritual advisor knew that Robert Hansen was spying 10 years before and said that all that he had to do was donate to the church's charity. But
yeah,
he was obviously the handler.
But Hansen was getting immoral. He was becoming openly and notorious immoral. He was becoming a
I think that was a cover. I think that was a cover. That was an entire cover to get Eric to look into him. It was that was the entire thing that they used to start the investigation.
But remember, Hansen was the connection between the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, and the KGB. Because you only have a handful of these knights at the top coordinating and tying together all the intelligence services, especially in this instance with the U.S. intelligence and the Russian intelligence.
But yeah, then you have the lead investigator, Eric. They asked him, well, why do you think he did it? Well, the response is well, they think that he just did it for the thrill of it, just to cover up the entire motive, the fact that he was Opus Dei.
Yeah.
Could have been taking his direction from this.
He was the second James Jesus Angleton. Angleton had connections with Kim Philby. He had connections with...
Whose father was St. John Philby, who you just spoke of.
Right, and he also had connections with Gallitzin. Gallitzin was a Knight of Malta, came from a Russian royal family, the Gallitzin family, and when Gallitzin came over here, it was just a meeting of Brother Knight of Malta, James Angleton, with Brother Gallitzin, and that's why they gave all those CIA files up on a farm in New York to Gallitzin so that they could take all that information back and purge out and kill off any CIA agents or assets within Russia.
Wow. All right, guys. Well, it's looking like we have 28 minutes left. We're going to go ahead and take this opportunity to take a little break. I want to thank you, Eric. Do you want to hold over for the break?
Sure, that'd be fine.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and take a little break, guys, so people can stretch their legs, get a little sip of water. When we come back, we're going to have Eric the caller, my co-host Nick, me, Everett Tucker, and our special guest, Eric John Phelps. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get into this. This is Mystic Politics with my co-host Nick, our caller Eric, and Eric John Phelps, our very special guest. You guys with us?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Now let's see here. Nick, did you have any questions for Mr. Phelps?
Well, actually, we got a caller. Let's focus in on our caller. Eric, go ahead. Talk a little bit about what you got on your mind, bro.
All right, I got a couple more connections to Roman Catholicism with Scientology.
Good, right on.
Nice.
Wonderful.
All right, you mentioned Tom Cruise was a Knight of Malta. I wasn't aware of that, but I knew that one of his life ambitions when he was younger was to be a Catholic priest, like Mayor Giuliani used to want to be a Catholic priest. He married Nicole Kidman, who is a Roman Catholic, divorced her, and now he is married to Katie Holmes, who is Roman Catholic and went to Notre Dame Academy, which was an all-female school, and right next door was the all-male St. John Jesuits, where she appeared in several school musicals.
Fantastic.
And then you have Dave Miscavige, the president of Scientology, who comes from a Polish-Italian Roman Catholic family.
What's his name again?
Dave Miscavige.
Dave Miscavige, okay.
M-I-C-C-A-V-I-G-E.
Interesting. Well, wasn't Nicole Kidman, didn't she play in that somewhat pornographic movie of Eyes Wide Shut?
With him, yes.
Yeah.
Well, that was a Knight of Malta Jesuit orgy that they were at.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And that was the last movie that producer, that Kubrick ever made. And I think
do you think that he had pried a little bit too deep with that one? Do you think that
I do. Yes, I do, because you see, that's typical behavior for the High Knights Templars, Knights of Malta.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, you said it was a Jesuit Maltan ritual?
The High Knights Templars, High Knights Hospitallers are engaged in that behavior. Mm-hmm.
Really?
Well, I have a friend in Italy, Vittorio. He has cousins who work for Fiat. He says the Jesuits run Fiat, and of course Fiat's buying what GM
Chrysler.
in Europe, and Chrysler. Yeah, the Jesuits run Fiat completely. And Vittorio told me he was invited to 2 of those orgy parties where you just wear masks and a cape. And he says, if you don't believe me, I'll send you my most recent invitation that they sent me. He says, I can't stand them. He said, I don't go, but they send me these invitations.
Yeah, get a copy of that invitation. I'd like to see it. And also, another thing about Yeah, another thing about Fiat is their logo is very, very interesting with the snake eating the man.
Yeah,
That one, I think, as far as symbology or symbolism, excuse me, I think that is very interesting. What is that logo? Because I've seen that symbol a couple of times. As far as I believe, it's tied into one of the Rothschild homes. They have it cut into a lawn. And are you aware of any meaning to the symbolism? Anybody on the line?
Well, I'm aware of the serpent aspect with regard to a special man that is coming. Because if you look back, remember, Horus is going to be controlled by Set, according to the Egyptian myth. Set is the devil for Egypt. So this is exactly what Revelation 13 says. There's a coming man who's the coming final pope. He's going to continue for a while. He'll be the 7th Roman Caesar of Revelation 17:10. He gets killed with a mortal wound, and then he'll come back to life. He's the 8th king, yet he's one of the 7th. Namely, he's the 7th king. And this 8th king will be possessed by the devil, just as Set possessed and controlled a risen Osiris, who is Horus. That's why the Pope has the cross on him. He has these crosses on him. That's the cross of Osiris. So every Pope is acting as the Osiris, waiting to be slain and come back to life as the risen Horus, possessed by Set, the devil.
I had a question for you. I was listening to your last, I believe it was the last time you were on Black Sheep Radio with Nick, now of Mystic Politics, plug, blogtalkradio.com/Mystic Politics, if you're listening to this on some other venue. And you were getting into the fact a little bit, I think you, unless I'm misunderstanding, that under Vatican law, the Pope is a non-entity.
No. Yeah, under Vatican canon law, the Pope is a sole corporation, and so he's a completely artificial person in the law, and he is a sovereign, meaning that he cannot be sued, and he is as much of a king or a prince as any other sovereign on the face of the earth, in fact, even more so. So the purpose of the papacy, the Jesuit papacy, is to make this king the universal monarch of the world, who will be then assassinated and brought back to life as the Antichrist and will rule the world for 42 months.
Wow, and another little interesting thing, and I had a couple questions for you as far as you had talked real briefly on the last interview about the spiritual power and the temple power, the two keys. And I was very curious as to who bestowed those on. I'm not sure who Foxe or Pettin was, and I was wondering if you could elaborate them and how they had the power to grant that to the Pope in the first place.
Okay, the first spiritual power, this universal spiritual power, was granted to the Bishop of Rome, the Pope by this time, by Foxe, who was the emperor of the Roman Empire out of Constantinople. Okay. So he confers this spiritual power in 606. 150 years later, always want to remember that, 150 years later, in 756, Pepin, who was one of the forerunners of creating a united Catholic Europe, he confers the universal temporal power on the Pope from a forgery called the Donation of Constantine, whereby Constantine has given this temporal power to the Pope. So they forged this. Pepin believed it, and he says, okay, you're going to have temporal power here. You're going to be the head of a kingdom, and we'll start with Rome. So that's where that began. And then it's fully developed under Hildebrand, and later Innocent III in the 1200s, where Innocent III was exercised the greatest spiritual and temporal power of any pope to date.
Yeah, that is very interesting to me, and I'm going to be researching him. His name was Pepin, the one who had granted him the temple power, I believe, in 756.
Yeah, Pepin granted the temple power. Pepin was I believe, the father of Charlemagne.
Father of Charlemagne. Yeah, I'm keeping detailed notes of this conversation here. Like I said, I'm a new researcher, and a lot of this stuff is just so amazing to me. So this,
I cover all this in my PowerPoint, so you need to get a copy of that. I have 626 slides, and I go through all this history on the temporal power, spiritual power, Rome creating Islam, the creation of the Orthodox Church, 1054. I bring all that history up to the present.
Where can we get a copy of that?
You can get